Hello and welcome to the American Job Center Resume Workshop. In the next few minutes, we hope we can help you learn how to create an amazing resume that can be the difference in getting the position you desire. While your resume does provide a form of personal billboard or advertisement, it introduces you to the employer. The primary purpose is to communicate to the employer that one, you want the position being offered, and most importantly, that you possess or exceed the minimum requirements. Your resume is your ticket to an interview and sets the tone for that interview. A resume is not intended to be an all-inclusive list of your experience. It should focus instead on how you meet the advertised needs of the company as set out in the job description. The employer has already told you what they want. You need to communicate through your resume that you are what they need. Every resume must be a unique and tailored product to fit the position that you're applying for. Use the job description to guide your construction. The employer has told you what they need. Again, this is your turn to help them see that you are the answer to those needs. There are three basic formats of resume, and each one has strengths and weaknesses and work best in different situations. If you're applying for a position that is very similar to jobs you've had in the past, a chronological resume might be best. However, do not just recite what you did in each position. Rather, tie your experience from those prior jobs into the needs the company has identified in their job description. Here is an example of a chronological resume. As you can see, this individual has started with their most recent position and worked backwards through previous positions. They outline the skills that they obtained or that they utilized while they were performing these jobs. This is the most common resume that employers will see. A second format is a functional or skills-based resume. With this format, instead of listing your work history chronologically, you'll pull out specific needs from the job description and use those as your headers. And under each header, provide detail of how you have or exceed that minimum experience. If you have room, you can include a brief listing of your work history, but more often than not, you will fill the entire page with skills and experience. Here we see an example of a functional resume. Here, this individual, obviously, the employer has asked for someone who can train others. The first thing that they indicate is that they facilitated educational projects. The employer also wants someone who can draw blood, so they indicate they have phlebotomy experience. And it goes on, again, tailor-made for the position that this person is applying for, utilizing the job description. The final resume format is a combination of the chronological and the functional. In it, you're going to use both common formats to better communicate to the employer, again, how you can provide the things that they need. Now, a combination resume is a very rare animal, and it is best if you work with a career professional, such as our career specialists at the American Job Center, to fine-tune a resume like this and to get input from an outside source. An example here of a combination resume shows the skills, again, that are derived from the job description provided by the employer, and then backed up with a chronological work history outlining where and how this individual obtained those skills. Some information, regardless of the format that you choose for your resume, you must have a logical, orderly flow of information from top to bottom, including your personal information, what you're seeking to accomplish as far as your job search. This should be a statement along the lines of seeking employment as a production tender with XYZ company. Do not neglect this part, as a poor objective statement simply gives an employer a reason not to look any further. Only expect about 5 seconds of the employer's time in an initial screening of resumes. They may have hundreds of applicants for a position and honestly do not have time to read every resume. They quickly screen looking for keywords, phrases, or anything that sparks interest, and then they will either hold the resume for further review or they discard it. Some mandatory components. These are the sections, the 3 sections that employers expect to see: your contact information, your experience or skills, and your education. Contact information should be self-explanatory, but it's often neglected, and it will be one part of your resume that is guaranteed to be viewed. Whatever contact information you use, ensure you're able to receive responses from employers. Use a professional email. It may be best to set up an email address just for your job search. With the resources out there using a Gmail or Google or other free service, you can make an email address such as joesmith123@gmail.com. Doing this, you then know that the only traffic you'll get on that email address is related to your job search. Additionally, use a phone that you can answer. In the world of cell phones, this is very easy, but if you do not have a cell phone, you may want to invest in a cheap, prepaid, no contract phone that is only used for your job search. That way, when it rings, you know it's opportunity knocking. And also, and I can't stress this enough, set up the voicemail feature and check it regularly. The last thing you want is to miss those times when opportunity is trying to reach you. Remember here, we're talking about custom building a resume. These are not supposed to be one size fits all off the rack, where every employer gets the same vanilla version. Start working for the company by working for yourself. Regardless of format, ensure that you build this section of job description or experience around the specific job you are applying for. The company, as we've said previously, has already told you what they want. Ensure that you give it to them. Do not make an employer guess, because they will never guess in your favor. Don't just tell the employer what you want to do. Tell them how you have done it and how that experience applies to their needs. Again, do not rely on assumptions. Hand feed them what you want to communicate. Show them that your achievements, your skills, your experience make you the best possible candidate for the job that you are applying for. In your job descriptions and your skills descriptions, be specific. Use quantifiable, verifiable statistical information. Not only does this give credibility to your resume, but it also communicates your potential value to the company even before anyone has ever met you. If your education is going to be a deciding factor in whether or not you are qualified, then be sure to include it in the resume. If the employer has indicated that they want a high school diploma, then list where you went to school and that you graduated. However, something to avoid is giving out information that might cost you the interview. Don't include a graduation year, as this can lead to identifying your age. Yes, the employer will be able to ascertain an age range once they meet you in an interview, but don't let it be something that excludes you from consideration. The golden standard of formatting for a resume is Times New Roman font at 12 point, spaced at 1.5 lines. Try to maintain 1-inch margins all around, but if you need space, follow the guidance that's provided below on this slide. Further naming conventions for saving an electronic copy of your resume might include adding the company name and a date, such as naming this resume John Smith, Daco resume, December 2020. That way you know what each file is in your resume folder on your computer. Some keys to a good resume, again, don't give an employer a reason to exclude you before they even meet you. Your resume is your ticket to an interview, and it's then that interview where you get the job. Above all else, and we'll stress this again, proofread everything before sending it. Once you send it, you cannot get it back. Some things not to put on a resume. Don't include salary requirements or previous salaries. Don't include a list of references or names of contact information. Don't include any personal information, birth date, marital status, health status, a picture. Let your resume stand for itself and let it be your ticket to the interview. References should be provided only during the interview. Don't include a separate page with references prior to the interview. Let that be something that you hand off during the interview, and be sure to place them on a separate sheet of paper, formatted the same as your resume. A cover letter is often a neglected thing in the application process. Your cover letter is your chance for the employer to hear from you in your own words. A cover letter can raise interest and help secure an interview by making the employer want to hear more from you. Again, cover letters, like resumes, must be targeted to the employer and the job. In fact, if you are applying for more than one position with an employer, there should be a separate, clearly identifiable, unique resume and cover letter for each position. Your cover letter will promote your abilities. It will show organization, professionalism. It also can tell the employer that not only do you want the job, but you're excited about the opportunity to work with their company. Some components of a cover letter, just like any other business formatted letter, of course, your introductory paragraph, the body. This should be short, concise, not bullet points, but written out in formal business communication using good vocabulary. Conclusion, your closing, and sign it if it's in paper format. If everything that you communicate with an employer is through electronic means, through email or through a electronic application, ensure that when you go for the interview, you have hard copies to provide that employer. Some tips for your cover letter. First of all, and foremost, this is your chance to include things that were not in your resume and to highlight keys to your qualifications for the position for which you're applying. Show the company what you can do and that you want to work for them. Draw attention to your strengths, not weaknesses. Have someone proofread. Keep it short. A cover letter should never exceed one single page. And don't repeat what's on your resume. This is an opportunity to share further, more interesting information with the employer. The last thing that we're going to cover, always take the time for a thank you note. This will set you apart from most other candidates. It requires additional effort, and it indicates to the employer that you have an eye for detail and that you can see a project through to the complete end. It will remind the employer of the interview. That gets you in front of them for a third time before they have made a hiring decision. Normally, other candidates will only get 2 opportunities. This will reinforce for that employer your name and your qualifications, and often will even create a reason for them to go back and look at your resume again, as most employers will keep all of the documents associated with an individual together. In your thank you note, communicate emotion and excitement. Tell the employer what you enjoyed about the meeting and restate that you are excited about the opportunity to join their team. Help remind them of something specific that was asked or that was discussed in your interview. Again, communicate to them why you are excited about this opportunity. An example of a thank you note can be seen here, but you can also find templates and ideas online. Some final tips. After the interview, ask for a business card. If you do not receive a business card, make sure you research the right spelling of the interviewer's name. For example, my name is Jimmy, but I spell it Jimmie, not Jimmy. When I get things that are addressed to Jimmy with a Y, that just communicates to me that the person does not know me. And often I end up throwing those away without even opening them to see what has been included. Make sure to send your thank you note within 24 and an absolute maximum 48 hours. Send an actual paper thank you note. While it may be convenient to send an email, emails often get scanned over for urgency and may be deleted before they're read. And here's the thing, again, a thank you note will set you apart from the other 96% of applicants. Proofread, proofread, proofread. Everything. As mentioned before, what you send out cannot be gotten back, and it tells people about you. It communicates your professionalism or lack of professionalism. It communicates your attention to detail or your sloppiness. Make sure that people see the absolute